Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Joining me today is General Ravi Shankar and General Harimohan Singh. General Dushyant will be joining us shortly, and General Rajiv is traveling, so we have General Harimohan Iyer joining us for that. Sir, thank you so much, General Harimohan Iyer, especially General Shankar, and hopefully General Dushyant will join us soon. This is a very interesting and important, developing story. Is China thinking that since Russia is on this ascendancy in the war against Ukraine, that it too can do something like that in its own backyard? That is the bigger question that I would like to ask the generals, because it all looks like that. They needlessly go and detain one Indian national from Arunachal Pradesh traveling from London to Japan in the transit lounge. I mean, it's ludicrous why they want to try and shoot themselves in the foot. If any Indian is going to travel, through Shanghai, that's just odd. Anyway, so these are all just some of the pinprick. This is for India, and for Japan, they have been saying other things. Sir, first let me invite both of you, and as always, Sunil Gavaskar will take first strike, and then followed by General Harimohan Iyer. And viewers, today the video is going to come in portrait mode in Facebook. Those of you who are watching from Facebook, you're going to see it in portrait mode. And those of you who are watching it elsewhere, you're going to be seeing it in landscape mode. Over to you, General Ravi Shankar.
Oh, thanks a lot, Shreya ji. At the outset, I must say it's a pleasure to be between two Iyers. And
we can only go higher.
And especially when one Iyer calls the other Iyer a Singh. Right?
Today I didn't sing, sir. Today I
spoke. You did. That's why I picked this up. Huh? But then, we're going through a very funny and a strange time in geopolitics. Something which I've never come across. On one side, it looks as if Xi Jinping is in panic. The other side, I think he's posing a threat to Trump, and Trump has killed him. What is the reality? A lot of haze. What is it there for it in India? We need to have a reality check. We need to have one reality check. I'll put the cart before the horse, because this is a solution I have for everything what's going around. India needs to stand on its own. Forget about Trump, forget about many other things and all that. So let's look at it. What are the two major events which have happened which make me talk like this? First is this wolf warriorism, which China restarted with Japan, with the consul general saying, I want to cut her filthy neck off. That's nothing but wolf warriorism. And then the next part of wolf warriorism is against India. And when that lady from Arunachal gets detained in Shanghai airport as she is transiting through, what does it indicate? Just think what China has done. We all know that, the Japanese Prime Minister made a statement that any attack on Taiwan will be detrimental to our security, and hence we'll have to do something. And that put China on the hop. Why? Which meant that the option of use of force against Taiwan is no more one-to-one between Taiwan and China. Right? The moment that happens, Japan has come into the picture. It's not only Japan, Philippines also comes into the picture. So that puts paid to a lot of China's. So they've reacted very violently, and they feel as if Japan has committed a thing, everything. They've cancelled flights, exports. They've tourists, so many things, and they've threatened Japan from here to the next heaven, with hell in between. They want to bully Japan. If they're successful, well, you bullied the third largest economy into submission. Okay, they can't do it on their own, so they went to USA. So Xi Jinping calls up USA. That itself is unprecedented. Xi Jinping or any president of US, China, or general secretary will call him what you want, the head of state, whatever you want, dictator. He has never called up the president of USA the way this call has gone through. Is it panic, threat? What is it? And he could have told, look, you want to close the Ukraine war, forget about Taiwan. Is that a deal which has happened? And Taiwan, USA turns around next day. Trump speaks to Sarai Takaichi and says, "Oh, cool down on Japan, or cool down on China." And now that's reported in Japan Times. Now it's very clearly reported in Wall Street Journal and all Chinese portals also. That Japan has been put in place. So will Japan back off? Japan is not backing off as of now. So that's got one dimension. That's one dimension. The other dimension is what happened with India. This lady who was traveling through Shanghai gets picked. After all, she's only transiting. Because when Arunachal is there, everything gets picked off a line and zeroed in and taken off. And she's kept for 18 hours. And this issue has become a major issue between India and China. Let's be very clear, it's a major issue. So what does it bring? It brings India and China back to square one. That's the fundamental. Or it is telling India, look, we'll do all this, you can do damn all about it. That's the second way of looking at it. We will do what we want. Now, what is, and Xi speaks to Trump, Trump backs off. Trump in his normal big talk and all, he says, oh, he's my friend, I'm going there in April, but he doesn't talk of Japan. So what does it mean? Who's there, where? And then there is a view that, there is also a view that, Xi had to go to Trump to resolve the problem with Japan and Taiwan. And then in between, Taiwan says, I'm going to spend a lot of 33 billion or whatever it is for my defense in the next 4-5 years. I'm going to increase it to 3% immediately in 26 and up to 5% by 30. So suddenly the Indo-Pacific or this area is on fire. But the Indo-Pacific construct is not speaking. Quad is dead. Neither is America speaking. America says, no, don't fight. Something very strange going on. And China has suddenly threatened Japan, it's threatened India, and it has put USA on a rack, really. It put cornered USA. Is this a G2 or reversal of roles between USA and China? And I've spoken on Gun Shot also. China, this is an extension of what happened in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization towards the end, when Xi Jinping said, I want, the global governance initiative and all that. There are a lot of issues, cross currents, right? And then China lets go of North Korea. It's attack dog against everyone. It starts, talking with Russia. Because Russia, Japan, North Korea, China, they are in a common area of conflict. Sea of Japan, Kuril Islands, all those. And here, Pakistan is talking more by the day. It leads me to believe that China is doing it very deliberately. And they're doing it very, very deliberately because USA is weak. USA is weak. And you see China, Trump is weak. So that puts us somewhere. Where does it put us? We are in a place where we now have to think, what do you do? Do you go ahead with China? Are you going to get coerced by China? Are you going to get coerced by USA? What do you do? Do you go with other countries? So it's actually pushing you into a corner, this whole story. Whatever China has done with us, they've done. No one else is bothered about it in the world, but we are bothered about it because it's done against us. So there are so many things which are happening, and of course, Pakistan ko to chodo hi chodo. So I think this is something which we need to discuss our way through. and get a clarity as to how India is going to navigate this, messy situation. It's not an easy situation. Where is it that you're going to give? Where is it that you're going to take? And what is it that you're going to take? And what's your bottom line? I mean, just saying we will not accept China saying what it is got. I think that time has passed. That kind of a tutu mai mai is done. You want to make China behave, you'll have to do something about it. You want to make Pakistan behave, you'll have to do something about it. Whether you want to go the direct route or the indirect route is a matter of choice. How do you deal with USA? So these are the issues. I'm sure we'll discuss it as we go by. I'm sure once General Dushyant Singh comes, he'll have his view. Otherwise, also we'll go ahead with the whole story. There's enough material in this. This is a very broad topic, and we'll take all facets. Back to you, Sri Ayerji.
Thank you so much, General Shankar and General Harimohan Iyer. And I apologize for again calling you.
Oh, no. Good one.
All you are missing is a mustache like General Shankar's, and you'll be permanently etched as Harimohan Singh in my mind. Thank you, sir. Over to you. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Firstly, thank you for having me on your show. It's great to be part of the three good generals. So I guess I may be the standby good general to come in and fill in. So the word good actually excites being part of the show. As far as me being called Singh, I've been used to it. Many people treat me as a Jat. They call me more like a person from Haryana. So I'm quite used to it. In fact, in my unit, I'm called Harimohan Singh Sir. So I'm very. So that said, a couple of things, though I start with accepting what General Shankar said, that it is very evident that we have to be on our own. That's the bottom line, and there's no denial on it. So let's break it up. To start with, when were we with anybody? That's the first question. We have been in a conflict situation with China for almost a decade now. We are eye to eye in almost all our front lines with China. Who has come and helped us? So why should we look at help? We are quite capable of taking our stance with China, and I guess that should be the way forward. And if at all these signals are to be seen, it should only encourage us to be build our capacities to be capable of taking it forward rather than going backwards. So that is the first point which I wanted to lay. The second issue is a little tricky. When this thing whole came about, initially President Trump, as usual, came on the social media, the truth site, and flashed his famous thank you for your attention tweet, and he left it vague. And the US went about saying that it was a call initiated by China, and there were so many discussions which happened. People went back to 2002 when I think the then Chinese premier had spoken to the president, conveying his condolences on his father's death. That was possibly the last time when a Chinese president had called directly to the Americans. But then the Chinese presser came out, and it very distinctly says the call was initiated by President Trump, which means that somebody is sweating. Somebody is sweating because that so-called high moral stand, whatever he took, is not working. Possibly he was trying to scare a very strong economy by various methods. It didn't work. I will start with, I did a little analysis today. Ever since President Trump was still yet to be sworn in, and there was a talk of an alternate trade currency in the world. The BRICS wanted to, launch their own currency. And President Trump made hue and cry about it. Ever since he's been in chair, since January of this year, look at the way he's dealt with the BRICS nations. Russia, of course, he never considered it to be anywhere in that zone, so he was dealing with them differently. using Ukraine as the forward state. And the Americans have always done it. India, they dropped them like a hot potato when Op Sindoor happened. Brazil, he went in and put in the highest tariffs on the country. He's trying to destabilize the current Brazilian presidency. China, of course, he blew hot and blew cold, put very high tariffs, attracted very high return tariffs, and then thereafter he's been trying to find a way to have a kind of a honorly exit of wherever he has put a stand on. And recently he did not attend a G20 summit in South Africa saying that, it is against the whites. So he's brought racism over there. 5 states which possibly constitute a very strong economical order in the world are being marginalized. That is one point which I wanted to flag. Secondly, General Shankar talked about the Quad. I think sometime we discussed about Quad and I said it's become a straight line. Today it's not even a straight line, it's become a point. Australia is irrelevant. Japan today has been shrugged off the shoulder by the US. In all possibility, US will not want to get involved with Japan. And India has never been in picture. So what has happened today is very clear. It is, and let's be very honest about it. China has made no bones about its interest in Taiwan. And it is going to be a primary thing because that is one of the unfinished business as far as China is concerned. Whether they go about and do it now, next 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, these are speculative assessments which nobody can actually put a finger on. But China possibly looking at Taiwan falling without it having to launch an offensive. They possibly looking at a method in which it destabilizes Taiwan and absorbs it as part of one China. And the current line which they have taken as an unfinished World War II business, where they have put Japan as a fascist nation and Taiwan being the bone of contention with US, which was a World War victor, should have undertaken in the last century itself. So it's a very different tack which they have taken in this particular conversation. So let's analyze this conversation a little bit. So what comes out, I'll read out from whatever the Chinese presser says. So it does not mention fentanyl or agriculture, which was there in the truth tweet or whatever it is. But it definitely mentions Taiwan. It definitely mentions Japan. Thankfully, it doesn't mention India. So when this topic was thrown at us yesterday by you, I was wondering, why should India be bothered about this talk, which is totally Pacific oriented? And like General Shankar said, people who should be immediately concerned are Japan and Philippines, because they are the ones which are so-called on the other side of the China Sea, whether it's the North China, East China Sea or North China Sea. So, or Sea of Japan, if I was to use the correct terminology. Why should we be worried? Yes, of course, these kind of pinpricks about Indian being detained in Shanghai, I guess it is nothing new. They have been issuing paper visas to people going from Arunachal from, yesteryears. Did we do anything about it? People did travel to China using paper visas, people from Arunachal, etc. They denied a visa to one of our army commanders because he was commanding a formation which was China-centric. These are nothing new. My point, what I'm trying to say is this particular conversation has got more connect to Japan and definitely a bigger connect to where Quad is. And last point I'd like to leave before we take the discussion forward is, the world should understand that we are dealing with a different US president. We are not dealing with a strategic president, but we are dealing with a businessman. For him, business comes first and strategy comes later. And that he has made it very evident the way he has gone about, dealing with people. Whether it is, so he says, I'll stop a war by, threatening trade. The other day, he was mentioning it and I think I put a tweet out. He says that 2 nations were about to go nuclear against each other. And I said, if you don't stop, I'll put 350%, tariffs on you. So if India and Pakistan have nuclear, exchange, you think they will be in a condition to trade with US after that? So if a president of a world superpower, makes these kind of statements, and it is also bought in the in the audience like that way, it speaks. Yes, this man is a businessman. He is only interested in forwarding trade. MAGA is the front for everything he does. And we need to try and find a way. And definitely there is enough scope to deal with him, because there's a huge business outcome between India and the US. And I guess we will work on that. And that way the Indian external affairs, as well as the Prime Minister is dealing, I must compliment them, because they are not getting sidetracked by any of these dealings which are happening. And we have been very balanced in our response to the Americans for the last 5 months. And I hope that this is a constructive way of taking things forward. And I am sure things will work out the way India looks at it. But finally, I again go back to what General Shankar says. Absolutely true. The baseline is nobody is going to help you. You've got to be on your own. And I guess that is equally applicable to every nation in the world today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, General Harimohan Iyer. One interesting thing that I wanted to bring to both the good generals' attention is I want to put up one small graphic. Can we bring it up, please? All right. So if you take a look at this, can you bring it up a little bit? I want to show the bottom line. Can you span it? Yes, leave it at that. So this is a report by Peter and Peterson Foundation, and that was released just a few weeks ago, end of October. And what one is noticing is the amount of foreign debt in United States has actually gone up from 25% to 32%. The three big ones are Japan, United Kingdom, and China. And China has itself gone down a little bit. You can see that. But the takeaway here is, if indeed things are so bad in the United States, why have other countries started buying the US Treasury bonds again? 7% is a very significant jump, General Shankar, General Iyer. And that's a story that's going on its own. We all know publicly China had sold 50 billion of the Treasury bonds, and that was a big halagula. You can see the dip there. You can see the dip there in the graph, how much China has disinvested in the United States. So my question to both of you is, one side we are seeing, a lot of saber rattling on part of China. On the other side, the world is beginning to park its money in United States, wealth, gold, what have you. So this is exactly what happened before Second World War started. And I'd like you both to tell me what you think is happening. So if it was indeed Trump who called Xi Jinping, what was the import of his call? Because suddenly the whole context changes. If it is Trump calling Xi Jinping, what was it that he was calling about?
Yeah. Look, let me settle this question of Trump and Xi Jinping who calls. I'm very clear about it, that it was Xi Jinping who initiated this call. And I'll tell you why. Like I said, Sanai Takechi, with her talk, just with that one sentence of hers, upended the complete Chinese plan for Taiwan. You have to understand, if Taiwan is a no-go, the Communist Party is sunk. It loses value. And you're looking at the Communist Party, which is today in a shaky situation. Militarily, it can't take over Taiwan, everyone knows. There's corruption, generals sacked, their equipment is not functioning, all that has come out. Their economy is in the dumps. The only way forward is non-militarily, right? And that also will close with if Japan maintains its position. And if Japan seems to be coming closer to Taiwan. That is feasible. Japan and Taiwan coming close together is only feasible if USA backs it. There's no way Xi Jinping could have gone to Taiwan. There's no way. After all, he couldn't go to. He can't bully Japan beyond a point. Right. And if you see the optics which are building up, it's as if China is bullying Japan into submission. Well, Japan is a strong economy. Japanese are not fools to get swarmed by the Chinese. So it this put the entire People's Republic of China in a spot. Where did he go? Where can he go? He could only go to Trump. No one else. And he went. And he there, whether he threatened Xi Jinping or made a deal with him is a different story. That is conjecture because that readouts are completely different from each other. And the guy who reported that this call is unprecedented, the first chaps who reported, New York Times, which is completely against Trump. Okay, if Trump comes, if New York Times comes with this report that Xi Jinping, and they've analyzed it. If you go to the New York Times, they've analyzed why this has happened. Then I tend to believe that. And logic. There's no logic for Trump to speak to China and then speak to Japan to tone down. Why would he do it? What is the impetus for Trump to do this? First calls Xi Jinping and then tell Sanai Takechi. If Trump had to take this initiative, he would have first told Japan, yeah, why are you doing upsetting the apple cart? Just pipe down a bit. And then he would have told Xi Jinping, yeah, I've told her, relax, let's get going. It would have been the other way around. So it doesn't stand to logic that Trump has spoken. But if you go into the Chinese media, their hardcore media, it's all about how Trump had to speak Xi Jinping within a month. So there's a propaganda issue. Like I said, China is in a weak situation internally. How does China get out of this mercantilism? How does mercantilism happen? Mercantilism will happen only if China and USA are seen as G2. Like I said, focus on the bigger picture. China put India, USA, and Japan on the back foot. What is the effect on the world globally? It's actually, gunboat diplomacy of a different kind. And then he'll tell everyone, look, they're going to come and deal with me. So, you guys also should deal with me. I'm the boss of the world. So, that's the way for his economy to revive going forward. Also, that's the way. Now, actually, if you see in the outcome of this so far, what has happened, it appears as if Taiwan has been left on the lurch. We'll see. If this whole story is not ended, we'll have to see how the Americans react internally. It's not yet done. But Taiwan has been left in the lurch. Right. The one country which could make sense out of all this is India. India has been put on the back foot. While what I agree with what General Harimohan says, this is not new. They stopped the army commander, they stopped their athletes from going there, staple visas, all that. But why now? Why did they have to do it now when they wanted to improve our relations between India and China? I mean, that's the point. And they picked this lady, if you analyze this whole sequence, they picked this lady from the queue and said, you come here. They've done it deliberately. I don't know the travel history of this lady. She might have gone many times more through that. I don't think this is the first time she's transiting through Shanghai. I might be wrong. I am not this thing, but from the way she's articulated, the way she's spoken, and all, and the way she's been traveling, she's pretty well read and well, traveled. And she knowing herself to be Arunachali, she would be very careful to go through Shanghai or anywhere in China. And she would be doing it only if she's done it earlier. Right? So I have my doubts whether, this is not normal. This puts India-China relations back to square one. They're okay with it. Why? Because now everyone knows that this is the way they're going to deal with China, India. And there's a lot of analysis which says Xi Jinping, by speaking with Trump and putting himself as the post Second World War victor together, they have to run the world. That's the word which has come. They have to take on the global responsibility and against fascist forces. So they put Japan out, but at the same time they put India also out. Look, three big economies. So we have to be clear about this story. Okay, I mean, I don't think China will ever be able to capture Taiwan. But the fact is, if Taiwan is seen to be out of the PRC grip, the CCP will fall. That's the problem. That's why China is reacting the way it is. Like I said, for all this, what's happening, this is not the end of the story. The internal reaction from the West and USA will have to be seen. So where does it leave us? We are on our own. It's no brainer. But the problem with our own today is we have to now contend with the G2, which is a reality. And a G2 in which China is going to be strident and USA is going to be weak. Let's not have any doubts about that. Okay. Now, so that is where it is today. Would you like to go with Japan? You have to do a special outreach with Japan. You have to do a special outreach, revive some kind of a framework, or put in another framework, and that framework without USA, sustainability, all questions. Right? China has cowed down Japan, India, Taiwan, and many more. It's got an ongoing spat with Philippines. It's not off. So you are in a new situation. Whether it is good, bad, or ugly, this new situation has to be dealt with differently. Like I said, this will give fresh breath to Pakistan. Already people are talking of it. I mean, if you see a few articles coming out of China about Pakistan, you will understand. Now, in fact, today I saw an article. It says, look, Pakistan helped China way back in the 70s, 71, 72, bringing us closer with USA. We will now help Pakistan. We will now help Pakistan getting us closer back to USA in this G2 business. Just think the situation you are in if this G2 goes through and Pakistan is the main, butler in between the two. So we have to understand we are in a special situation. Okay, it's not a matter of being with China, with USA, we've always been without anyone. It's a matter of developmental partnerships. For our developmental partnership and sustenance, you need China, you need USA. I mean, if you feel that you don't need USA, you're on the wrong boat. Because you're committed. I mean, I know I've just, in my tenure, 10 years back, we did a deal of $5 billion with USA. After that, there were 10 such things. You have more than about $50-60 billion of military deals with them. And you still go ahead, or this will go through the whole century. You can't shake USA off your back. So now you have a USA, which is in any equation with China, it's not going to help you. So where does that leave you? Where does that leave anyone else? So China will sense it. If China sense it, you will have a problem with through Pakistan. I mean, China won't sense it. China has engineered this. So I think there are many overturns to this whole story. I don't see this as a simple one-to-one between each of us. And this has got heavy security and strategic implications for us. We will handle China militarily. That I have no doubt. I am completely in agreement with General Harimohan. Handling China militarily along the LAC is a no-brainer. We'll handle them. But the thing is, how do you develop? How do you sustain your 6.5 to 7.5% growth? Right? No, the interesting thing is everyone talks of the demise of America. Why are UK or for that matter Japan or Korea investing into USA? They have no choice actually. That's the preeminent position of USA. Why did China disinvest from USA? They don't want to get stuck like Russia. I mean, that's the fundamental. And is the American economy shaky? I don't think so. The fundamentals of the American economy are still remain strong. It's not only debt which rides the whole thing. Debt, they have unsustainable debt, I agree. But the fact is, you look at the other indicators in the economy, they're pretty okay. They're still the strongest economy. You can't wish it away. So, the strongest part of America is also its weakest with the mountain of debt it has. Okay. And in China, the weakest part of China today is its economy. They want to make it stronger through this entire story. I mean, that's the way I look at it. It might not, gel with the normal way of thinking, but I look at it this way. But what is it there for all this in India? There is no doubt in my mind we have to go back to Japan and form a relationship with them. It's not going to be easy because Japan is not an easy customer. Of course, the small nations along the Indo-Pacific today will be very threatened by this development that America might not be there when we need. If America is not there when Japan needs America, then what do you think about the other little chunmuns around there? So there's a problem, and you have to cash in on this problem, right? And my way of looking at it, you want action? Look to Pakistan. You want to sort out China? Sort out Pakistan first. Hold China, sort out Pakistan politically. I am not talking of military, politically. And today Pakistan is politically vulnerable. That will have ripple effect on China straight away. And of course, you have to start doing something about this business of stapled visa, passport, you play the Tibet card. Actually, that is absolutely ripe and ready to start the whole process going. Right? I'll stop here. We'll get back for the next round. Back to you.
Thank you, sir. General Harimohan Iyer, you wanted to weigh in on something, and I have a question for you, but first go ahead and weigh in, sir.
See, is my mic on? It shows muted.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, let's break down this Xi Trump, bonhomie for the last 2 months a little bit. First, they go and meet in South Korea. Okay. President Trump made so much of noise about it, at least at 5 or 6 occasions, at various levels, he mentioned, I'm going to meet President Xi in South Korea. I didn't see any noise coming from China. So that is the first point which I want to flag. Let's see what happened in the meeting. Again, we did a show and we were looking at the same inferences what General Shankar was bringing out then. G2, what happens? Once again, President Trump came, with a loudspeaker. We have agreed on A, B, C, D, E. We agreed on this. China has agreed on this. China is going to buy, so much of soya bean from us. Fentanyl problem has been sorted out. Rare earth has become frozen. Did we hear any noise from China? At least I didn't see it.
Yeah, there is. I'll talk of that.
So it was What I'm trying to say, in the world order, it wasn't there. Lower level, it must have been there, definitely. Now look, take it forward. Somewhere President Trump mentioned that I'm going to go to China in April. We are already entering December. Has anything moved forward? Have China given a commitment to buy soybeans physically, other than whatever Trump has tweeted out? So there is a again, like I said, all this will keep going on. If I was to look at somebody who's quite capable of picking up a telephone and talking to a national leader, it is President Trump. He keeps saying that I have spoken to Modi 5 times or 6 times. Nothing new. Every time he says, I spoke to Modi yesterday, the Indian Foreign External Affairs comes up and contradicts it. So the one person who keeps talking about, talking to people, he made the Prime Minister of Israel sit in front of him with a telephone on his lap and apologize to Saudi Arabia. So the person who's more telephone friendly in this conversation, if I look at it, is President Trump. So I tend to believe what the Chinese have put out. General Shankar has his own analysis, and I don't deny that. It could have been the other way around also, because China is in trouble. Because China possibly has taken a strong stand in areas where it is going to suffer. If China is going to buy soybean out of America, it is not because it's going to help America. It is because it needs soybean for its own sustenance. And it is found that other nations, it's not getting a good deal. So it has come back to America with a claim, because if it doesn't go to America, it's going to spend more money. That is another point. Third is the issue of dollar going, that this thing going down. The deficit going up, the American deficit going up. See, whenever there's going to be investments and whenever there's going to be some degree of trade, you will find this fluctuation of debt to this thing ratio going up and down. So one should not get too carried away by it. When you have the currency which deals with entire trade in the world, there will be a huge amount of debt currency, and that is what people are worried about. Because today the US can write off the debt by getting more dollars into the market. So that is why people want to get out of the dollar trade and get into trades like in terms of rupee to ruble trade, etc., etc. I don't think it is happening across the world, because nobody trusts each other's currency. Other than the dollar, there is no other currency which holds good. Especially Chinese currency, nobody wants to use. And that actually pisses China off a little bit more, because they want to be known as the second largest power, but nobody is acknowledging it. Going on to Taiwan. Taiwan noise is not new. Well, at least in my 60 years of life, last 40 years, I've been hearing of China taking over Taiwan. Every year they say it's going to happen, it doesn't happen. Last time when Nancy Pelosi went to Taiwan, the entire amount of sorties with the Chinese flew in and around the Chinese air defense zones was something so much of clutter coming out in the social media. So it's nothing new. Like General Shankar says, it cannot be done militarily. They also know it. The Taiwanese also know it, that they can't be cowed into militarily. I also believe that someday it is going to happen. Whether it happens in a communist China or it happens in a different China, there are issues to look at. This CCP in China is in its worst situation today. President Xi 10 years ago was much more stronger. But in his garb to become the strongest man, he has angered a large number of people below him. And he himself is not very comfortable today. So he also wants a kind of a MAGA equivalent to reassert himself in his own public. And what happened with India and the LAC in the last 3-4 years has not given him any brownie points. He's actually taken it on his nose. Because not once but twice he's tried with India, and both times he's failed to achieve anything worthwhile, and he has to go back, which is generally not something which China is very happy about. He has not been able to influence the world order as a major economic power that he wants to be. The China that China is looking to it has not been able to either influence the Ukraine war or the peace in Gaza. It does not get to anywhere. So it is still stuck within its own limits. And it's got its own problems. it's vishal to say that everything is hunky dory in Tibet and Xinjiang. It is not. When you look at the kind of things that are happening there, he is in a lot of trouble. His own demography is under huge amount of stress, and we have seen his armed forces across the line of actual control. They are no longer the Chinamen that used to be part of the PLA. They are no longer having that kind of affiliation as a PLA of the CCP, which generally it was supposed to be. So in that larger context, there is a little problem within China, and I don't deny that he needs a place to show himself off. I guess we have to wait till February, March, when some more dynamics will come about when President Trump starts preparing for his visit to China. There will be a huge amount of tension, especially in South China Sea, especially those chutput nations which General Shankar was mentioning. I'll lay it out: Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines, to some extent even Indonesia. They're all going to feel the pinch of it. The very fact that the Indonesians are coming to India and asking for strategic supports like the BrahMos, it shows that they are worried. They are worried about some kind of a expansion in those areas. The Chinese Navy definitely is growing, and it's growing its influence. So if the Indian Ocean region is not being looked at by the Americans as a possible place to expand, and that's why I believe Obama was a visionary in that line when he looked at the Quad being the kind of an association that wanted to be in place. You signed the COMCASA, the LEMOA, and all that at that stage, that period of time with the Americans. Like General Shankar said, so much of deals happened with that time. That is because they looked at India as a fulcrum to negate China's influence in the Indian Ocean region. If you deny that and you say, no, I don't want to look at it because it does not suit my business sense, then America is going to lose its influence in this region. If they think that just because some failed marshal in a rogue state comes and has lunch and dinner with him in his Oval Office, he's going to continue his influence there, I don't think they can maintain their influence even in the Middle East. So to that extent, at some stage, this transactional president will have to start looking at strategy, which unfortunately in the last 8-9 months I have not seen. He is more interested in coercing people into agreements, which will not last. These kind of agreements don't last. A lot of discussion happened about the Gaza peace deal. As of now, the second phase is yet to kick in. It's been over a month. And a large amount of Israeli actions have already started inside Gaza. So that peace deal is not holding. And you can't think of, Laos and Thailand, Cambodia and Thailand and those kind of nations to tom-tom a superpower like America. So I have a little, I am a little skeptical on this issue. I don't think it is warning signs for India because of this talk between China and the USA. It amounts to the same thing as Prime Minister Modi, denying a invitation to the White House and going and attending the SCO. So it's a similar kind of a scenario right now. We are well on our course. Yes, we can't be divorced with the world order. We have to be part of the larger world order if you want to grow. And if you want to grow at 6.5%, we got to have trade on both sides. And the good thing is our trade with China is, despite whatever tensions are there, is still there as it was. I am yet to see the numbers from the US trade post the tariffs. But what has been thrown out in the open domain is that it's not had a major impact as far as the trade with the US is concerned. Our goods are still going to the US. So in that context, yes, a trade deal will be interesting. Whether it happens at the behest or it is pushed beyond April till the time these two bigwigs meet each other in China. And if there is any statement to that effect as far as India is concerned comes out. One of the things which President Trump had said before he took over as the president was he doesn't want India to be part of the BRICS. He was goading India to get out of the BRICS. So he wants a very concerted action from India, which I don't think India in the current state is going to trust him and come out. We are maintaining equidistant from all agencies and powers, all groupings. And we are part of a large number of groupings also. And as far as Pakistan is concerned, I am very sure it will fall on its own, sir. I don't think we'd have to interfere in their political thing. They are quite capable of bringing the domino down, and I see it happening in the next 4 to 5 months when when the stress of economy comes on the current regime, there will be a problem. And I don't know. There's a talk that Imran Khan has been neutralized. I don't know whether it is true news or IW, but someday it is going to happen, and either he's taken out or he becomes irrelevant. These are things one has to see. But I still see that yes, for Japan it is a rap on the knuckles because there was a talk to Japan to move down. I think Indo-Japan agreements are quite okay. We are still trading in the same levels and as we were doing earlier, and we should possibly take it as a caution that the Quad might become irrelevant. And if Quad doesn't come up, then what do we do to remain relevant in the Indo-Pacific is something which needs to be looked at. Are we looking at other associations, maybe bilaterals or multilateral with ASEAN? These are things that possibly are on the horizon for people to start thinking and discussing. But yes, it's a warning, definitely, but nothing to panic as far as India is concerned. We need to be very cautious the way we deal with both China and the US in the coming months.
Thank you so much, sir. I was going to ask you a specific question, but maybe I should ask both of you. After this question answer, we'll go to questions from our viewers. So let this question to both of you. First, I'll ask General Shankar, and then you can weigh in General Iyer. General Shankar, Japan used to have one of the most powerful navies, perhaps till end of Second World War, and then they were deliberately demilitarized. The new constitution was written by United States, and what you're seeing now is a much diminished navy, although I'm hearing for the last 5-6 years they have been on their growth path again. And see, this is one of the things that's not said but felt. The reason is Japan actually successfully invaded and defeated China. It also defeated Russia. Viewers, it's just a matter of how you fight these wars. And Russia, when they defeated Japan after Second World War, the revenge was that they pulled out everything that Japan had put in place in Manchuria: electricity, power generators, railway lines. I mean, it was a pretty nasty stuff. Anyway, so do you think today Japan has been re-energizing its naval prowess? Is that why Xi Jinping is a bit shaky? Over to you, sir. Then I'll ask the same question to you, General Iyer.
See, the fact is that Japan has been re-militarizing itself at a low key. But it has been, the question has been up in the air in Japan. If they can't rely on USA, there is an opinion in Japan and in South Korea that they should nuclearize on their own and do everything else. There's no doubt on that. Whether this is the one which scared China to do what it did now, I don't think so. For the simple reason, China was worried about the increasing ties between Taiwan and Japan. But this statement by Sanae Taikaichi puts China on a limb. It pushes China into a corner, actually. Look, we all know that China will never be able to take over Taiwan, what General Harimohan also said. That is out of question. Even, non-militarily, it will not take over. But the thing is, as far as the Taiwan issue is politically up, and all Chinese newspapers talk of Taiwan being part of one China. The one China principle goes out of the line. Completely, it's tossed out the way Japan has handled Taiwan so far. So there are a lot of political problems out of this for China internally. That threatens CCP. Please understand, this is more powerful. Whatever has happened now, the situation is more powerful and threatening to the CCP than a militarized Japan. That's the first thing. Now, will China go and fight with Japan? No, there's no doubt. Even Japanese don't have a doubt. Japanese say we've never seen China at the more weaker than this. So it's okay. Let them come, let's deal with it. So the Japanese are quite clear internally about this whole story. Of course, there are a lot of fake news coming out from and fake information, and there's a full-scale propaganda system of Japan, which is not Japan, China, which is blaring all over the world, and many of us will believe what China says. So they'll get those brownie points. But the fact is, on ground, this is a stalemate militarily. It's only political. The issue is political, and that is more important for me when you deal with China. Military is not important. Military will come in. I mean, when I say not important, relatively to political, military will follow. Now, whether Japan will become militarily strong, it will not, because it doesn't have the population to do so. And if it starts remilitarizing, it will take another decade. It's not so easy because first Japan has to get over its internal problems of their constitutional bindings they have put themselves into. So I don't think that problem will come about. The problem will be what I said. It closes Chinese options politically. That is the danger. Well, like I said, China will not attack Japan. No way, out of question. There are too many ifs and buts in this whole story, and ifs and buts in the Chinese military for it. Well, Japan is a huge set of islands. You can't go and just. And the next point is, see, everyone says, "Oh, China will go and capture Senkaku, some island, all that." What happens if you do that? You take it further. Take it further. It captures 4 islands in around Senkakus, that is between the East China Sea and the Pacific. You have to hold it. You have to defend it. Overnight, your entire security paradigm changes. Okay, and you are inviting trouble. Then any precipitate action by China at this point of military, USA will have to respond. No choice. Response might be weak, but the response will be there. If the response happens, enmity, then G2, P2, all this is gone. So there are too many things at stake for China to go in anywhere or Japan to do anything foolish. This is a political issue. If both have sense, they will handle it politically. And to grant it to Trump, he is doing it politically without raising temperatures. Because he also knows that America is probably not in a position to come and defend Taiwan. I mean, Taiwan, or for that matter, even Japan, in case the balloon goes up. No one wants to get into a war in this, but they want political points. So this political problem will go. We don't know when this whole story will, the apple cart turns and it might go military. We don't know. But I don't think it will go there. Right? And my thing is very clear. China sees this whole game as an opportunity. I come back, stick to what I said in the beginning, that we have to know where we stand in this entire game. We stand singled out, isolated. You're not going to get political support from China or USA. We are used to it. I have no problem with it. And again, this is not a sign of weakness. We need to understand where we are. If you understand where you are, you know the ground beneath your feet, it will not fall off tomorrow. You know exactly what you should do. Don't keep yapping that, I'm going to become China's strategic partner again. You're not. That is dead. Let's not start dreaming also that we'll improve our economic relations with China. Out of question. So these are the issues which are at stake. And understanding these issues is important in our own growth trajectory. Can anyone stop our growth? No mother's son can stop this growth. ये भी बता रहा हूं मैं. You see the kind of people who are coming to India, talking about India and all that. It's not simple. It doesn't happen. Right? So I think this is where we are. Uh, I don't. Mr. Shreya has just gone off the link. I'm sure he'll come back. I'd like. Then yeah, then he comes. So I this is what I had to say till Shreya ji. Over to you. Back to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Before I defer to General Iyer, one small request. This is coming live on 3 different channels. Wherever you are watching, please like this video. And if you have not subscribed to the other 2 channels, do consider subscribing to other 2 channels. We bring you a wealth of information. Each one is like a Venn diagram. There is some intersection when the 3 good generals are live, but there are so many other things that each channel offers. So I would urge all of you to follow all 3 channels. Over to you, General Iyer.
Coming to your basic question of Japanese Navy.
Yeah.
Japan is an island nation, right? So it is even its internal connectivity is along sea at many places. So for them to have protection per se, they have to have a strong navy. So that is the basic way one looks at it. Let's look at India. We are more of a continental nation. We do have a peninsular India, but we don't have threats to that extent. So when you have Russia onto one side, China onto the other, and possibly even a threat from North Korea from down south. So for a nation of that nature, which is based on island, they have to have a strong navy, and I guess they are working on that. Even after the World War, once the Americans decided as to what should be the Japanese securities apparatus, Japan always had enough forces for self-defense. They still call their forces as self-defense forces. So in that count, they are quite capable of taking on anybody who attempts. Like General Shankar mentioned, it is not easy. The Americans in the World War, in the heights of World War, America basically went ballistic only against Japan. There was the island called Iwo Jima. The amount of American effort which went into Iwo Jima to remove maybe 5,000 Japanese we were holding on, colossal the kind of damage they took. And it is just one small island, and you're looking at the main Japanese territory. So it's not something which is doable. Even Taiwan, I am totally with what General Shankar said. Capturing an island like Taiwan, it will require a huge amount of force. And having captured, can you hold it against a nation which doesn't want to be part of you? So, that's something which we discuss in every discussion in uniform. It is very easy to say, I'll go and capture A, B, C, and D. What after that? How can you hold on to something who's not willing to stay with you? So therefore, yesterday we were discussing Russia and Ukraine and Donbass. And I mentioned to it, it's basically Russian ethnic areas which Russia is targeting because he knows the population will be with them. They don't want to be with Ukraine. That's why they are able to do what they have been able to do. So capturing something, and it's not World War time. Today, people are quite capable. A second point which you mentioned in the passing was regarding nuclear. Japan is the only country which has actually taken on a nuclear attack, and it has survived and come out of it. So they understand what it involves. I'm sure they have taken enough precautions against it. So to that extent, I don't think Japan is anyway short of capability to defend itself. And the same goes for any other nation in that region. It is not possible for China to open so many fronts. So I don't think China will definitely try and get into confrontationist situation with Japan. It will try and avoid it. And I guess in that context, whomsoever may have started this telephone conversation, but this aspect of Japanese Prime Minister making a statement on Taiwan must have been put on the table very loudly by the Chinese side, because they are worried that is this Quad going to once again come and circle me? Because if Japanese Prime Minister has said something which the American President is not agreeing, is it something which has been mouthed through the Japanese Prime Minister, American agenda being mouthed to him. This must have been a kind of concern for China, and they have definitely brought it out. And I once again want to flag that issue. They have very conveniently turned it to say this is unfinished business of World War. So they are trying to tell the Americans, you are being friends with somebody who was your enemy during the World War. Please be with people who were with your who were friends during that World War. So if you read it correctly, they are trying to say we and you are fighting the same enemy during the last century, and we should continue doing that. So it is a tricky kind of a pressure which has been put out by the Chinese. One has to do it between every line as to what each of that implies. And they may have a huge armed force, they may have a modern armed force, but I don't think they have a capability to do what many people give them credit for. And we are very clear in our minds. And once again, I'd like to re-emphasize, whether it is in land or sea, as far as India is concerned, we have not only capable to hold our own, we are quite capable to give him the kind of bloody nose that he does not want to see. So I don't see that kind of a concern as far as military aspect of this thing is this issue is concerned. Yes, if China starts pushing us down as far as growth is concerned, because let's be very clear, in this region, China will not want India to grow at the kind of pace that we are growing it. They will like to bring our pace of growth down, because it has direct influence in its own growth. To that extent, if it can influence the US to cut down any kind of assistance to India's growth, it will try and do it, and that we should be wary of. And we need to be very clear we are on our own. And like I said, I've been very closely associated with the last conflict which we had, or I'd say skirmish which we had with China, and we were very much clear as to how much which country assisted us. We were on our own, and we stood and we took care of it on our own steam. So we are quite capable of holding on to it, and we should not get worried about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Before we go to question and answers from our viewers, sir, it might take about 15 minutes if it's okay with you. There are a few questions. Thank you so much, sir. And viewers, I wanted to give you an announcement that we have now, we'll be able to ship Sengols with and without enclosures. In about a week's time, we're replenishing our supplies. We'll be able to ship it. An interesting thing happened on the 15th of November in Bharat Mandapam, and I want to just show you a small shots. So with your permission, I'd just like to show you a small shots. It is something that we should all be proud of. Let's take a look at the shots, please. So these are eminent set of intellectuals who have all come together to participate in this event that Rajiv Malhotra ji organized, and I'm deeply indebted to him for giving us a chance to give the memento. And you can see the QR code. You can click on that to get your own, place your own orders. And if you happen to see it on anybody's desk, all you need to do is look at the bottom. There's a QR code right there. You can scan this also, and you can get your own Sengo. So let's now go to questions now, please. First question from Garvesh. Good evening, generals. This is for General Ravi Shankar. China is petrified by massive investment of 210 billion in Arunachal Pradesh by building hydroelectric projects to generate 78 gigawatts. Trump has become untrustworthy. I don't know what the question here is. Sir, would you like to comment on this? Is it true?
Look, there is a lot of investment going into Arunachal. I'll not put a figure on it. It's about exploration of mineral exploration, infrastructure going up, and hydroelectric. It's a Subansiri project. There's a project in Dibang, and of course in Siang itself, right? So there is a lot of infrastructure which is coming up, and in the next about 15-20 years, you will find Arunachal hugely power surplus. So it's going to have effects. Is China worried about it? They're not worried about it. Let's be clear. China is also clear that they'll not get anything out of Arunachal. The whole story of Arunachal is to keep the issue alive. As simple as that, and not settle the border. This is not about trying to capture Arunachal. They know that they'll not get one stone there. Remember what happened in Arunachal after all this, what General Harimohan was saying. Actually, there are 3 incidents which have happened in the recent past. Doklam, where we stopped them, Eastern Ladakh as a one packet. And the third happened in Yangtze, Arunachal Pradesh. People don't understand what happened in Yangtze. You gave them a kick on their seat pants, or the pants of their seat, whatever you call it. I mean, in normal parlance, you gave them a kick on their bum, and they went back. And the plan was huge in Yangtze, right? So this halla-gulla which is happening about Arunachal, I'm not worried. We'll look at Arunachal as a geopolitical issue, and we'll tackle it. If it comes to a military issue, they're going to be losing it. That's it.
Would you like to weigh in, sir, General Iyer?
Muted, Hari.
You're muted. You're muted. Yeah.
So when some nation tries to bring in integral part of another nation as controversial part, the aim is trying to put it down. Like General Shankar said, it's not possible, and China also knows, despite what they tried in 1962. In fact, many people don't know they came right up to Tezpur in 1962 and they went back. If they were so fond of Arunachal Pradesh, they could have stayed there. So despite 1962, where what kind of nation and the armed force we had, they went back. Today the problem is if Arunachal gets development, the area across is going to get affected, especially the areas adjoining Myanmar. Those areas of China are not so well developed when you looked at the other part. And they are still worried about Tibet. In fact, one question which, you can bring the Chinese down is, you just mentioned Dalai Lama, and then everything goes up. So they are still worried about holding on to Tibet. Because, that's why I think I mentioned it, China is not comfortable either in Tibet or in Xinjiang. Let that be very clearly understood by people. It's too far away from their mainland, and they are putting a huge amount of resources just trying to keep it as part of China because they need it for the resources. That having said, they are not going to expand any further. So Arunachal will stay, like General Shankar says, as a political kind of an issue, just to get some kind of bargain out of India. Nothing beyond
that. Next question, please. This is for you, General Iyer. Gold-clad warrior. What can be the main reason for these China's GGI? Sir, one question at a time. What is GGI, sir?
Global Governance Initiative.
Oh, global governance.
Oh.
The main reason for Global Governance Initiative is that China takes over the globe. That's as simple as that.
The BRI and the Silk Routes and all are part of this initiative that they want to dominate the region and the globe. India's NOTAM.
Did India issue? Did India issue a NOTAM at near
No, not
Malacca?
Malacca per se, but our NOTAMs are always in and around the Andaman Sea because all our test firing happens along our eastern coast. Those ranges are known to people, and depends on the range of missile that we are testing. The NOTAM is issued accordingly. So I don't think we go right up to Malacca, but what it really does indicate that if you are looking at a range of a missile from the continental India into the Bay of Bengal to a distance, the same missile if put in, let's say, the Andaman Nicobar Islands or on a ship around that region, will take care of Malacca. So that's how we look at it, and then they also know. Sindh, I think we discussed last time. I don't think we should be worried about Sindh. Like Sindh will stay like Arunachal Pradesh. It will continue to stay as a bone of contention, which will have no solutions. Internal turmoil, yes. China, like I said, has got a lot of problems. Not only in Tibet and Xinjiang, I believe in areas towards the north and south of Beijing, there is a little bit of because the development is not equal. So there are people who don't feel comfortable in the current regime. And President Xi per se is not very comfortable as or maybe as strong as he was pre-COVID times. So there are some issues which they are keeping under wraps, but then they do some form or the
other. Next question, General Shankar. Ashish wants to know the 400-kilometer PL-17 Ultra BBR missile, Pakistan's potential game changer against India's AWACS and Rafales. Is this worrying? Any counter strategy?
Who said that is 400 PL-17 and all? Who's proven it? Who's proven it? So let's not talk of imaginary things happening. Okay. When these things have a lot of propaganda and lying which goes on these capabilities. So we'll leave it at
that. General Iyer, this is for you. Is US purposely doing this act of leaving the Indo-Pacific region?
I hope it is not. I personally hope it is not, but that's why I said I think possibly the current administration is not looking at the Indo-Pacific as a strategic area. They are looking at the Middle East and then they are looking at the Pacific. The region between the Middle East and the Pacific, this current administration has so far shown less inclination to look at as the area of contention because it was something which both President Biden and President Obama and to an extent President Trump in his first term continued to show interest in these regions. A reason maybe he feels that Middle East having been secured, he is able to ensure enough amount of dominance in these regions. It may not be in the right lines, but like I mentioned, today Quad is left to Pacific. It's not looking at Indian Ocean at all. That having said, today the Indo-US strategic and military exercises are continuing, whether it is the Malabar exercise or the what's it called, Yudhabhyas series of exercises. Those are still continuing as they were before. The various agreements, whether it is the Comcasa or the LEMOA, they are in place. The US assets on lease are operating on Indian soil. So those kind of initiatives continue to be there. But in strategic noise, I find a little toned down in the current administration.
Thank you, sir. Next question. This is for General Shankar. Sunil wants to know, there is growing fear in China due to emerging new alliances and cooperation between India, Philippines, and Australia. As there's a second part, I'm following Taiwanese and Filipino media, and they are praising India's defense and space capabilities more than anyone else. What's the question here? Sir, I think, yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, it's a fact. China is worried about it. See, 2-3 things. You have now a strong partnership with Philippines, fairly strong. And we did an exercise there in the South China Sea. And that got China tailing this whole exercise and seeing what happened. All that. This is the first time we've done that. Please understand. Our exercise in South China Sea, contended territory. You've gone and done an exercise. Then Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore, they virtually invited you to do joint patrolling of Malacca Strait. It gives you presence out there. So things are changing. If things are changing, see, what has happened in this entire imbroglio of Trump and Xi Jinping call and Japan and all that? The focus has shifted into the wrong parts of China. A lot of strengths of China are being highlighted. China remains a country with immense weaknesses that no one is talking of. Its economy is still hemorrhaging. Involution isn't at its peak today. Right. And so there are problems. We'll not, and we need to maximize on it.
Next question, please. General Iyer, Akash wants to know, the Americans and Chinese are sitting on pile of debt funded by the rest of the world. Whether it be coercion or sweet talk, isn't the rest of the world happily funding this debt?
Is there any other option? Because both China and US are very strong economies, the number one and number two economical power in the world. So the trade happens from them. Both are very rich in raw material, and China, by its growth, has ensured that it controls a very large chunk of basic raw material, especially today the rare earth, and of course electronics. We all know how strong the Chinese are. The Americans anyway were the strongest economy going around. So when you have two strong economies going, all these debts is in terms of lot of material being purchased and turned around, and the money moving in circuits. So it's wrong to say except that this kind of money is lying in debt. Of course, it's moving around in goods, and world has to fund. There's no other choice. Otherwise, you become self-sufficient in every aspect, which is not possible in today's world.
Thank you, sir. Next question, please. General Shankar. With Russia being the common ally between India and China, is it possible things are being stoked up as a bargaining chip to bring Ukraine conflict closer to an end?
I don't think Russia is in a hurry to bring the Ukraine conflict to a closure. He's playing the long game, and as far as he's playing the long game, China is forced to help him out. So I don't see all that. I don't see that India getting involved in this. We have our different problems. Our problem is how to continue our relationship with Russia, given the fact that Russia and China are getting closer. That problem has not gone away from us. And we'll talk of it after 6th December. Mr. Putin is going to be here. We'll talk of it then.
Yeah. Next one, please. Question for General Iyer. Is it time to start making noise that Trump is a sellout and is selling US interests for personal gains?
I don't think so. Strategy and diplomacy doesn't work that way. Yes, you need to put across your points of view. At the same time, you have to be diplomatic enough to accept what is happening around, and you have to find ways to work around that issue. So if today President Trump is speaking to Xi, tomorrow probably Putin comes to Delhi in December, there will be a counter to it. So that is how diplomacy is played, and it's not trying to get into a confrontation per se. It is trying to ensure that you are continue to stay relevant in the overall structure.
Next one, please. Big Quasar, sir, General Shankar, this is for you. She still has a very strong grip on power. Are you suggesting she may be replaced, especially when he did not bow down to Trump on tariffs and ultimately came out on top?
No, I don't think so. He has a grip on power. There's no doubt about it. He can't be replaced. In fact, China doesn't have an alternative. He's left China with no alternative but himself. Yeah, I don't want to get involved because if I talk of it for the next 1 hour, I can keep talking. So the point is, let's not get into these angles about he will be in power or not. He is there. Let's deal with him. Another guy comes, we'll deal with him.
Next one, please. Truth Hawk, General Iyer, this is for you. How do you expect a country which is 80% energy dependent, digital infrastructure dependent on US, more than 50% population getting free rations to be a major power? We can be easily manipulated. I think he is referring to India.
Yeah, he's referring to India. Firstly, I'll take this 50% people getting free ration. We are capable of producing rations, so we are feeding our own population. We should see it that way, rather than saying that they are getting free rations. So it's a lot amount of social work is done. Tomorrow somebody is going to say, why do the Americans have social security when they are such a powerful nation? Why does the government have to subsidize? So these are ways the government deals with its own population. It has got political angles to it also. To that extent, I will not take the second part of it being any way to bring an Indian growth under question. As far as 80% dependence is concerned, you are a very large nation, 1.5 billion strong population. So if you have to feed and maintain them, there is requirement of huge amount of resources. Today we are capable enough to buy it. We are not getting into unnecessary. We have not taken an IMF loan. I think we discussed a couple of days back.
Yep.
India is one of those nations which is self-dependent. We are not getting dependent on somebody's doles. We are capable of holding on to our own. If we have to import, we'll do. Tomorrow, if there is a case, and let's not get into this as to what is our oil and energy dependence. That's why the Prime Minister says we have to look at alternate sources. There are multiple other means of solar farms and wind farms, and those kind of things are also being looked at. There is a large amount of nuclear energy sources which are being tapped. The whole civil nuclear deal was based on looking at an alternate source of energy so that our dependency on oil and imports goes down. But the problem is, by the time you reach a level of self-sufficiency, your population has also increased and your requirements have increased multifolds. A growing nation where yesterday maybe 1 in 100 guy person used to hold a four-wheeler and maybe requiring energy. Today 80 out of 100s are holding a vehicle. So they require that much amount of more energy to sustain. As a nation, we have done pretty well, and I don't think these two parameters should be in any way deciding as to what should be our standing in the world. GDP is worked on parameters which are not looking at these things. They are looking at parameters, how you are able to develop a nation in all facets, not just in question of money. So we are a well-growing nation, and 6.5% is not a small deal. No nation other than India is anywhere close to those numbers.
Sachin wants to know, this is for you, General Shankar. Why don't we drop our support to the One China policy when they don't respect our territorial integrity?
I completely agree with Sachin on this. We should. In a way, we have already dropped it. Only thing is, we have not dropped it officially. You can drop it demi-officially and make it be known to everyone that we don't respect the One China policy. The moment you do that, then China will get the message. There are ways to counter this whole story about what they're doing with this visa, the EU and all that. But more importantly, I think we need to be clear, what is China to us? Is it a trading partner? Is it an enemy? It's an adversary? Is it what is it? Okay, your neighbor, क्या है वो? तुम्हारा भतीजा है या मामा है? Let's be clear what is China to us, and then we have to handle. We find there's a lot of dichotomy in our thinking, or bully-headedness in our thinking and our approach to China. I mean, China has never been weaker than what I have seen it in all these years. Yet we treat it as if it is something else. So there are issues. I think that those internal issues have to be dealt with first before we start talking of doing these things like scrapping One China policy and all externally.
Next question from Jahangir Gutla. Thank you, Jahangir, and thank you for the previous person. I'm sorry you had donated some money. Is it wise to wait for a certain Stan, Bangladesh to break on their own, or should we be assisted? Just feel the internal 1.5 draw strength from them. General Iyer.
So I look at it in two different ways. Will we be a comfortable nation with a unstable neighbor? If Bangladesh implodes tomorrow into, let's say, 2 or 3 parts, will it be a comfortable thing for us to have that kind of a situation on our eastern border? The same thing I mentioned many times against Pakistan. A lot of people, dream of Pakistan breaking up into 7 or 8, different states. There are people who think they'll all get integrated to India also. We discussed it last week when we were discussing issues of Sindh. Is it a right kind of a way to look at? because it will bring not only trouble for us. Tomorrow, let's say for some this thing, let's say Sindh comes to us. The population of Sindh is not a population very, very well off. There are people whose needs are much more. So your 1.5 billion strong population will have more needies coming in with less resources coming along with it. So do we want something of that nature? This is something people should understand. We have a very unified nation, and we are very happy with whatever borders we have. Like I said last time, the only unfinished business as far as India is concerned is POJ and K. Sorry, not using the word J along with it, because that is something which is integral and it has been accepted as part of India. And I'm sure every government and every person in India will try and find ways to integrate it at some stage of the time. But beyond that, I don't see. An imploding nation which is unstable around you is not comfortable for you. This 1.5 front, which people are now very fond of using, might become 2.5 just because you have 3 more, rogue elements all along your borders. So we should be looking at stable borders, stable nations across the borders, and possibly nations which are not enemical with us.
Thank you so much, sir, and a wonderful session as always. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications, whichever channel you are watching this program at. Thank you once again, sir. Looking forward to seeing you very soon.